Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe, Radha Madhav Radha, Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe, Radha Madhav Radha Madhav, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaura Pimanandi. Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgachaja Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Shirabai Charan Aravind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Charya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jaini Thai Gaura Pimanande. All glories to be assembled devotees, all glories to be assembled devotees, all glories to be assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sharakaya Chakshurunmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Siti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayashabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva, It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita
Sri
Gadadhar,
Advaita Gadadhara,
Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Binda.
Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Sarabhyaya
Om
Namaha.
Surabhyaya Namaha.
Mukham karoti vasanam pangom rangayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our bhagavatam class, continuing from canto number 1, chapter 6. First canto. Huh? Chapter 7, huh? I lost the marker. Chapter 7, yes, the son of drawn upon us. And let's see. Yesterday we did 5 actually. Huh?
6.
Today is 6.
Today.
Yeah,
Yesterday 5.
correct. Text number 6. Anarto Pashamam
Anartopashamam
Sakshad
Sakshad
Bhakti
Bhakti
Yogam
Yogam
Adhoksaje
Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato
Lokasya Janato
Vidvams
Vidvam
Chakre
Chakre
Satvata
Satvata
Samhitam.
Sammitam.
Anarto Pashamam Sakshad
Anartopasham Sakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvam
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Sammitam.
Anarto Pashamam Sakshad
Anartopasham Sakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvam
Chakre Shasvata Samhitam.
Chakre Shashvata Sammitam.
Anato Pashamam Sakshad
Anartopasham Sakshad
Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Lokasya Janato Vidvam
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Sammitam. Anartopashamam Sakshad
Anarto Pashamam Sakshad
Bhakti Yoga Madokshaje
Bhakti Yogam Adhoksaje
Lokasya Janato Vidvam
Lokasya Janato Vidvams
Chakre Satvata Sammitam.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam. anartha,
anartha,
things which are superfluous,
things which are superfluous,
upashamam,
upasanam,
mitigation,
mitigation,
sakshat,
sakshat,
directly,
directly,
bhakti yogam,
bhakti yogam,
the linking process
the linking process
of devotional service.
of devotional service.
Adhoksaje,
Adoksaje,
unto the transcendence,
unto the transcendence,
lokasya,
lokasya,
of the general mass of men,
of the general mass of men,
ajanataha,
ajanata,
those who are unaware of,
those who are unaware of,
vidvan,
vidvan,
the supremely learned,
the supremely learned,
chakre,
chakre,
compiled,
compiled,
satvata,
satvata,
in relation with the supreme truth,
in relation with supreme truth,
samhitam,
samhitam,
Vedic literature.
Vedic literature.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Kindly repeat after me. The material miseries
The material miseries
of the living entity,
of the living entity,
which are superfluous to him,
which are superfluous,
can be directly mitigated
can be directly mitigated
by the linking process
by the linking process
of devotional service.
of devotional service.
But the mass of people
But the mass of people
do not know this,
do not know this,
and therefore the learned Vyasadeva
and therefore learned Vyasadeva
compiled this Vedic literature,
compiled the Vedic literature,
which is in relation
which is in relation
to the supreme truth.
to the supreme truth.
Purport. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of his plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also, and he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once a mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. Translation again. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So in the beginning of the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Srila Vyasadeva, it was explained a little earlier that after Narada Muni left, he sat in meditation and through his deep meditation was able to fully realize the absolute truth. And Prabhupada explains how realizing the absolute truth is also realizing the various energies that are connected with or emanating from that absolute truth. Of course, the absolute truth means Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, as well as all of the different energies, as well as all of the different emanations or incarnations, different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions. That's why we find in the Bhagavatam detailed information. That's Srila Vyasadeva. By realizing the supreme absolute truth, by realizing fully, in full, the supreme absolute truth, could understand all of the different tattvas. Subject matter of tattva is a very deep subject matter, which our Vaishnavacharyas speak about and have specialized in the subject matter of tattva. Tattva is referring to what is truth, what is the actual truth, what is the truth about spiritual subject matters, and what is the truth about material subject matters. So this is connection, of course. This is connected, rather, with the whole subject matter of dharma as well. We cannot speak of tattva unless we also speak about dharma. One of the very important points that Prabhupada points out uh, in the purport is that although the process is based on hearing and chanting, uh, the um, the success of our hearing and chanting uh, ultimately depends on the mercy of Krishna. In other words, we cannot um, we cannot be successful in realizing and understanding these subject matters, both on the spiritual level as well as the material level, unless we are favored by Krishna, unless we get Krishna's mercy. Mm. So that's a very important point that Prabhupada would quote his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who would say that you should not be so anxious to see God, but you should act in such a way that God can see you, that Krishna can take notice, oh, this particular jiva, this particular living entity is sincerely endeavoring to practice Krishna consciousness, sincerely endeavoring to serve me, and to serve not only me, but to serve what is very dear to me, as we know, the Brahmanas, the cows, the Vaishnavas. Ultimately, everything is dear to Krishna because he has aham sarvasya prabhavu mata sarvam prabhartati iti madhva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. He is a creator, maintainer, destroyer. What is also mentioned in the purport is that the vast majority of people, nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu, majority of people do not have this knowledge, do not understand, or they may have the knowledge, but not able to easily or clearly understand this knowledge, which which is ultimately very profound knowledge, very deep knowledge, um, very confidential knowledge. And in order to give an opportunity for the general mass of people, there's reference here to the general mass of people. People means that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for everyone. The knowledge that is contained in the pages of the Bhagavatam are meant to be shared and introduced. That's actually the first of the 7 purposes that Srila Prabhupada wrote down, 7 purposes of ISKCON, to systematically, I don't know it by heart, but the word systematic I know is there, systematically propagate the knowledge and the message. And actually, of course, Prabhupada specifically makes reference at least once, possibly twice, to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why we have the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, because they are interconnected and they give they give that opportunity for the general mass of people, for everyone to actually know uh, about the absolute truth. Um, and that's why Bhagavad Gita knowledge, um, the teachings given um, in the Bhagavad Gita are not what we call sectarian teaching. Sectarian means only for people in India. In one Nectar Devotion lecture, Prabhupada makes that point that these American and European boys and girls, they don't they don't just believe in Krishna as it is explained in, in the dictionary, Hindu God. They don't believe in a Hindu God. They know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uh, uh, they they have understood this knowledge. So if indeed Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it's for everybody. And that's why, especially in a place like India, where I don't know exactly the situation now, the teaching of Bhagavad Gita uh, is not accepted in some schools or colleges because they think, no, this is Hindu, it's for Hindus. Bhagavad Gita is not for the Hindus, or not only for those who are categorized as Hindus. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, in presenting this philosophy, because obviously Srila Prabhupada had that full understanding and realization, and was able to explain it convincingly to people from outside of India, from for people who had no connection whatsoever with the Vedic culture. That we all could understand this. Krishna is not just a Hindu god. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be presented and explained systematically, so that uh, so that everyone has an opportunity to receive this knowledge. For what purpose? That's also mentioned here. For mitigating. Mitigating means to put an end, to stop the miseries and sufferings of all living entities. Due to this lack of knowledge and understanding, people are engaged in so many sinful activities. People don't even know that they are performing sinful activities. that's that's part of the uh, basic knowledge. Basic knowledge that's also stressed in the Bhagavad Gita. Um, Pravritim cha nivritim cha janana vidur asura. That's the situation. Janana vidur, people who don't know the difference between what to do and what not to do, or what is good and what is bad. Nowadays, people, they, in general, people don't differentiate between good and bad. They don't know. So Prabhupada immediately points out how um, certain activities are sinful activities. activities of gambling, activities of intoxication. That the four basic principles that we follow, these are the root and the source of sinful activities, which prevent people from actually understanding this subject matter. Prabhupada would say, unless someone becomes a vegetarian, very difficult to understand this knowledge. It's not automatic. It's not automatically that somebody will understand because he's vegetarian, but it will be helpful because by being a vegetarian, one is not engaged in that sinful activity, which is very, very much creating heavy karmic reaction. So there's so much, obviously, so much knowledge that is contained in these pages of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and therefore our acharyas, this was especially seen by the efforts and activities of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who he introduced what's it called? I think exhibitions. No, he in Calcutta and maybe other places, he had he had like we have like in a museum. You go to a museum. People like to go to a museum, and you see a picture, and then it is written something, and so I've not read so much in detail, but I heard how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had made such kind of exhibits, and he would charge people. They had to pay money, just like you have to pay money to go to the movies, to the cinema, because then it's okay. It's like it's value. So this is the specialty of such personalities, acharyas. Acharya means someone who finds different ways to introduce this knowledge, to attract people to take up this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and therefore Prabhupada made this important statement that it is through cultural conquest that we will succeed in spreading Krishna consciousness. Cultural conquest means presenting so many aspects of the culture of Krishna consciousness, which includes both the spiritual activities and material activities, and of course, because those material activities are performed for the pleasure of Krishna, they are spiritualized material activities. Uh, we are the Hare Krishna people, especially in Australia. Everyone in Australia, then uh, what is the main reason they know about Hare Krishna? You know what is the main reason? Because of Govinda restaurant, because of Prasadam. Uh, they have many restaurants, and they still have. I think only during the period of COVID they had to stop, but they're very active in going to big festivals. They have special truck I saw when I was visiting um, in New Govardhan. You been to Australia? Oh, okay. New, but you've heard of New Govardhan is their large community, uh, close to 1,000 acres of land actually. Oh, very nice, big mountain, this and that, river, no lake is there. They're only using one small portion because it's all forest. So they have, I saw two. They have two big trucks specially made where they can carry a lot of food. They can go to some big festival and within 24 hours have uh, prasadam for thousands and thousands of people. The expert. They go to for one weekend, usually maybe a weekend or 1 week, and during that weekend they distribute. People buy, you know. People know when it's good food, and so the devotees have a uh, good reputation regarding the uh, very top quality food that they um, that they prepare in the different restaurants. They have restaurants in very strategic places where a lot of tourists come, a lot of people. So they make a lot of money by selling prasadam actually. Yeah. So that's part of culture. Culture, what kind of food you prepare and eat, and we know how uh, the one of the main reasons why people have all kinds of disease is because they're not eating proper food, isn't it? And the food, most of the food is also contaminated because it's not grown properly. So they grow food actually in New Govardhan. Um, they, of course, when they have big festivals, they have to buy food from the local market. Um, so this is what is being um, explained here a little bit. How, yeah, how this Srimad Bhagavatam, the knowledge that Srila Vyasadeva has compiled, uh, is meant to be widely distributed. That's why we are uh, in in the different Varnashram colleges that we need to promote and establish. It's in any school, subject matters are presented very systematically uh, by teachers who have studied the subject matter. So this is very, very important mm, aspect of introducing. Distribution of books, of course, is important, but how to help people uh, learn about the content of these books, how to study these books, and how to study these books in such a way that one becomes convinced to apply what is there in the books. That means uh, one of the main themes, one of the main instructions, the important essential instructions given in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well as the Bhagavad Gita is that we should live uh, according to the what is prescribed in the Vedic culture, simple living, agrarian living. Agrarian living means connected with nature, growing our own food, and not remain entangled with modern day industrialized lifestyle, which is uh, very very complicated and very taxing in so many different ways. So this is the verse we read. I'll just read it again. If there's any question or comment. Uh, the verse is as follows. Mm. The material miseries of the living entity which are superfluous to him. What is the actual meaning? Can somebody look superfluous? Let me find out. Um, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. Of course, so that's the main thing here, that bhakti or devotional service uh, is the only process that can actually put an end to the miseries. And to continue here, the translation, but the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Superfluous. Uh, superfluous. Yes. Superfluous. Superfluous means unnecessary. Prabhupada would use this nice term, unnecessary necessities of life. Yes, unnecessary necessities of life. Uh, what are unnecessary necessities of life? Examples of unnecessary necessities of life. This is unnecessary. We can live without cell phones. Of course, we built a world in which we cannot practically, or it's very difficult. But if we live the way we are meant to live, like car also is unnecessary necessity of life. Because as soon as you become localized, if we live on the land, on a farm, or in a village, we don't need a car. And you don't need a motorbike also. you need you need to be healthy, and the main mode of transportation is walking or bullock cart. One time, devotee is asking, "Probably is this really practical? I mean, this is just wishful thinking?" The Prabhupada said, "No, this is very practical." Then he gave the example: you can go from Mayapur to Calcutta um, by bullock cart. You start uh, in the afternoon, and by morning time, I don't know the speed of a bullock cart, but maybe 5 kilometers an hour. So 10 hours, 50 kilometers. Uh, I think more than 5 kilometers an hour. 5 kilometers. Human being can walk what, 10 kilometers an hour? I don't know exactly. But Prabhupada was giving that example that you can, and in the olden days, traditionally, when the farmers would go with their bullocks, they would automatically they would know where to go, where the land is, because land is not always touching our house. In villages, the land is usually some distance away. So superfluous, yeah, unnecessary. Um, and then it's especially through being more than enough. Uh, more than enough. So yes, we have in modern day society. This is part of the propaganda. Also, get more and more. The more you have, we are told, we are led to believe, the more we have, the more we'll be happy, which is actually the opposite. Uh, so therefore, the theme, important theme of minimizing our necessities of life. Uh, uh, like most people, they have so much clothes in their wardrobe, so much unnecessary. Uh,
They have so much God,
so much,
wardrobe,
yes.
or so much clothes. Whereas my son asked that it was not attractive for him when he read the Bhagavad Gita 5:20,
520, okay, which
yeah,
says,
which he says that if someone is not a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor he lament upon obtaining something unpleasant.
uh-huh,
So he is situated in transcendence. So when he read it, he have two nice sons,
right,
and this voice naturally gets some little things, Hey,
yeah,
Aribo!
yeah,
And my son also is very happy
right.
when they reach some level of advancement, like 6 years boy, and can do something. They are very happy. And he's asking why he will not be happy if he's attained the transcendence when he have these happy little things.
Yes.
Why it's necessary losing that happiness.
Mm.
So what to do answer?
um, the answer is simple, that our basis and our source of happiness is not related to um, um, sukha and dukkha, material sukha and material dukkha, material happiness or material distress. Yes, when people are devoid or don't know about spiritual life, especially bhakti, devotional service, they base their happiness um, on material situations. Yeah, it's very nice. Children are very attractive. When they grow up, they smile, they do things which make people happy. That's one side. On the other side, also, they get sick or they have accident, and people uh, become disturbed and distressed, isn't it? So this particular instruction in the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that actual happiness, actual happiness actually is its source is meant to be spiritual, uh, and
Unlimited.
yes, and it is always it is always it is meant to be permanent. Yeah, always present. So therefore, um, uh, especially as devotees, we need to understand this. It's kind of subtle aspect. We are not against happiness, but we are cautious in um, identifying happiness simply in on the material platform or level. Uh, because children, when they grow up and what they do, it can be very pleasing. It is pleasing, um, but um, if we don't learn to see beyond that, um, um, that the real happiness and joy is uh, is is on the spiritual or transcendental platform, then we will be in this, we will tend to remain in that duality. That's the duality of the material world. Sometimes my children, sometimes my children bring me happiness, and sometimes when they are sick or when some accident comes, or then I become unhappy. Uh, so a devotee is someone who is fixed on cultivating uh, transcendental, not transcendental, actually devotional, to make the difference between transcendental happiness and devotional happiness. And therefore, just like the nice example that we've all heard of Srivas Pandit, who lost his son. Everyone was lamenting, but he was very transcendental because he he had remained very um, composed and undisturbed, uh, because when his son passed away, the devotees, headed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were engaged in Harinam Sankirtan, and he did not want to disturb the ecstasy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, that's a whole nice lila explaining how um, we um, we have to be careful to be as family members, as parents especially, uh, to be overly attached to our children, thinking them to be our children. They are spirit souls. In this lifetime, they happen to be playing the role of my son or daughter, but maybe in previous life, not maybe, in previous life they were something else. In the next life, they'll be something else, etc. Mm. Um,
Yeah, but Maharaj, unlimited happiness and sukha dukkha or sukha happiness have in the literature is quite different level of happiness.
yes.
And I'm living here in Mayapur, or my friend lives in Vrindavan, or others lives in another nice place like New Goloka, where we see these unlimited happiness devotees. We
Where?
don't see so many unlimited happiness devotees. I see, you're happy, but then you are, why he's low, looks like happy sukha dukkha also attaching to devotees, and I trust devotees. So why we see that? Or maybe they are covering their unlimited happiness. I don't know. Your god brothers, senior brothers, they are just
Well,
compose their happiness. No, 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 I don't show my happiness because they will see me crazy.
well, everyone is different,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
isn't it? So, and every situation has to be judged on its own merits. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
I have to convince my son, or I try to convince my son that that is an unlimited happiness
I
and
mean,
you can reach it.
yes. Well, sometimes people, devotees, they become disturbed or confused by seeing Prabhupada getting mad, getting, you know, getting upset and shouting, you know. And so if we see if we see things from a material angle, then we will not be able to understand. Um, and it's difficult. I mean, we can't obviously we cannot generalize. Uh, I'm sure there are devotees who are exhibiting externally unhappiness sometimes, or are disturbed because something is not proper. So one has to analyze. Well, it, the, the criteria is that, am I disturbed because my sense gratification is being checked, or am I disturbed because something is not according to dharma? Isn't it? So we have to see things in that, and that's called Shastra Chakshu. We have to see things from from knowledge, from the point of Vedic knowledge. Uh, and 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 so when we observe something that we need to keep in mind, why this senior devotee is disturbed seemingly, why he's shouting or whatever. So we have to, and it's not uh, it's not always obvious, and it's not that everyone who's a senior person is transcendental in being disturbed. I mean, um, the actual seniority is not simply based on age or how many years one is practicing Krishna consciousness. So there's going to be a mixture, you know, of situations. You'll have senior devotees who are um, more transcendental in their activities, and others who will be less transcendental. That's,
So I can tell my son that at least when there is a nice kirtan going on, you see quite of different happiness which around the world is happening. So in kirtans, that's definitely there are some special show or sign of happiness,
yes,
which is for hours. Devotees can chant, dance, they smile, they are remain energetic, they don't stop. That looks like a very special happiness. And
yes,
nice kirtan is going on.
yes. Or people, devotees performing whatever service that they do in a, you know, in a happy consciousness, in a good consciousness.
And when the Lord is fully satisfied, as this verse or Prabhupada told, when the Lord fully satisfied, causes mercies appears
Yes.
in the situation.
um, yes. That that ability to to deeply understand or deeply realize is only possible by that mercy given by Krishna. the the result of our hearing and chanting, uh, uh, the perfection of our hearing and chanting will only be possible when Krishna gives us that ability, that mercy. Yeah, right. Mhm. But that means that we need to be performing hearing and chanting,
Yeah.
but there needs to be a quality to that hearing and chanting, yeah. A sincerity at heart for not only hearing and chanting, for everything that we are doing. The more we are able to do that, Krishna will take notice, and he'll help us to to realize, and he'll help us to become situated on that platform of uh, full satisfaction. Yeah.
And what makes this mechanical chanting?
What makes?
What makes the mechanical chanting, hearing, and chanting mitigate the material sufferings? What? Because it's Prabhupada, just the mechanical chanting also mitigates these superfluous.
Yeah, that's
What
interesting.
makes that?
Right. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. Prabhupada makes this point. Well, it's just like in the Nectar Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions that
We
uh,
shall dance.
we become, anyone who takes up to the process of devotional service is liberated. Is liberated means he's on the way to become liberated.
Yeah,
He's on the path of liberation. This statement here, yeah, I was, what was this?
at the end of the picture.
At the end, huh? Yes, but even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Um, and yeah, when I read this also, the following sentence, such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge.
Just looks like immediate.
It means that there's so much potency that is there that, well, the extra devotion brings immediate relief from all material uh, anxiety, from all material suffering. Mm. But there is some aspect of, I mean, uh, that means uh, even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting. Of course, the prescribed forms of hearing or chanting means attentive chanting, attentive hearing, isn't it? So this type, the more we are successful in properly hearing, properly chanting, this at once brings mitigation of unwanted miseries. Mm. So it means that it's a little, it's like Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma is not, that's only on the level of knowing that we are a spirit soul. That is not bringing us immediately to the highest knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But that mitigates na sochati na kansiti. So Prabhupada at the very end, he makes this point that the development of the highest level of realization uh, depends on the uh, application of devotional service. That's
And the mercy of the Lord.
and the yes.
But not the highest, this Brahmabhuta Prasanatma kind of feeling is just depend on the proper method applied, application of the proper method, like really focus or what you told that intense concentrated hearing and chanting. That's immediately
Yes, that immediately mitigates,
reconnect.
right? But like the last line of the purport, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth.
Yeah, that realized knowledge is coming when Krishna fully satisfied with the
Yes,
endeavor.
yes. The intervention of Krishna is needed. The mercy of Krishna is needed.
And Krishna's convinced of it.
Right. Yes. Yes. Interesting. Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki.